asked to bring a salad to your next lunch or barbecue, then you have to try my crispy noodle and chicken salad. It is a crowd pleaser and everyone goes wild for it. And what makes this so special is the dressing. So into a jar, I'm going to add some white vinegar, about 4 tablespoons because you want a big hit of acidity. We also need to balance this out with some sweetness, so some caster sugar, a small pinch of salt, and some soy, and the soy is going to give this a lovely savouriness. So you want 2 to 3 tablespoons of light soy. And now some sesame oil. Sesame oil is going to give this a really lovely nutty flavour. And a lot of recipes just call for a small amount, but for this dressing, you want about 1 to 2 teaspoons, so we really taste it. Great. All we need to do now is give this a really good shake to dissolve all of that sugar and allow all those flavours to mingle. Okay, now that that sugar has dissolved, we'll finish this dressing with a splash of olive oil. And now the dressing is done. Lid goes on, and you'll take that to the barbecue as is. Give it a quick shake before you serve. You don't want to be adding this dressing now. It's really one of those dressings you want to leave to the last minute, just so those noodles stay super crispy. Next, all of the salad ingredients. Now, there's a little bit of chopping, but it's totally worth it. In here, I have some cabbage, some wombok, along with some carrot that I finely julienned. I'm also going to add just some spring onions, and we'll just chop them. Ideally the white and light green part, along with some coriander, and I like a good hit of coriander, and just roughly chop it. I'll reserve some of the leaves for the garnish later on. And we'll pop that into our large bowl, along with some bean sprouts, a big handful of them for some crunch. I like to add some toasted slivered almonds, and some chicken. Now this is just some leftover barbecued chicken. You can use store-bought for sure. Some pickled ginger, I've just finely chopped that. Some sesame seeds, and the all-important crispy noodles, which you can get from all of your supermarkets. I'm going to add 1 handful now, and I'll keep the rest for later because we want the crunch from the noodles. So we'll just give that a really good toss. Get your tongs in there, toss all that together. Be quite gentle with it so we're not bruising any of the ingredients. And if you like, you could use a fork and a spoon. That is looking good. Now it's time to serve, so we're going to give our dressing one last shake, and then we're going to pour it all over this lovely salad. Fantastic, it smells so good with that sesame oil and the soy. One final toss. And let's place this on a large, generous platter. Pile it up. It's just one of those salads that everyone is going to like because there's so much going on. And the best salads are the ones that have loads of texture. And boy, does this salad have some texture. To finish it off, some extra crispy noodles over the top. Sprinkle that over. Some coriander that I reserved, and some sesame seeds. And there you have it. If you want your salad to be the most popular at your next lunch or barbecue, then you've got to try this crispy noodle salad. Best pasta dishes are the ones that have minimal ingredients, just like this one. And of course, there is maximum flavour. This is my spaghetti with sardines. What I love about this is we're going to get the pasta straight into the pot. By the time it's cooked, the sauce will be done. So I'm just using some spaghetti. I'll use half of this packet. And like always with spaghetti, you need some rapidly boiling water, 2 pinches of salt, and then in with our pasta. Now this is going to take about 8 minutes to cook. We want it to be al dente because we're going to finish it off in the pan with the sauce later on. So in the pan, a nice large pan, to this I'm going to add a good glug of oil. So this is an olive oil based sauce. So we want good few tablespoons, let's say 4 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. To this, we're going to slowly start cooking some garlic. So 2 cloves of garlic and I just want to thinly slice them. And then we're just going to gently sizzle that away. So into the oil, and I'll just bring the heat up now, and we just want to control that on a medium heat. To this we can add some chili. I'm using some chili flakes. You can add as little or as much as you like. I want about half a teaspoon. I always prefer to add some and then have a taste at the end. If you want it to be a little bit more fiery, add some more. Now, while that's sizzling away, let's get onto the lemon. Now, this has to have a good hit of lemon to it. Because sardines are oily and rich, we want that zing and lightness from it. So I need the zest of 2 lemons, and we need lots of juice too. So zest that just on a fine grater like this one. And when you're zesting, you want to make sure you don't get too much of the pith. We just want the perfume of the lemon, so just run it over once or twice at most. Second lemon. Finally grate that. You can see we're getting quite a lot there. So we want minimal ingredients but prominent flavours from the sardines and from the lemon. Okay, we'll cut them in half and then we're going to juice one of them. I'm also going to add some parsley to this. So we want the parsley leaves right at the end, but at this stage we can add all of these stalks. No wastage here, and also they're full of flavour. So finely chop the stalks, and then they can also go in. Okay, we've got some good sizzle now, so I'm going to turn the heat up, give that a bit of a jiggle, and once that garlic just starts to turn colour, which it is now, we can add our sardines. The sardines are ready to go. We just need to warm them up. So we'll add 1 can of sardines, and I don't mind if some of the oil goes in because the oil has some flavour too. So we'll add them. Just try not to break them up too much, just separate them because I want it to be chunky in this recipe. All right, let's have a look at the pasta. Like I said, we want it to be al dente, so when you have a little taste of the pasta, it should be just slightly chalky in the centre. And have a taste. Oh, just perfect. It's going to continue cooking in the pan, so you do want to take it out of the water a little bit earlier. Nothing worse than overcooked pasta. So we'll pop that in. And this starchy water is the key to a very good pasta. So once you've added all the pasta, you want to add some of that water. So grab yourself a ladle and add about half a ladle full, and then pop that back on the heat. And by doing that, we're almost emulsifying the oil with the water, creating a beautiful creamy sauce. We'll add some salt, pinch of salt, a good crack of pepper. Lots of pepper for this one. And this is the time that we add the lemon. Don't add the lemon too early because it will change the freshness of it. So we just want at the last minute, sprinkle that in along with the juice of 1 whole lemon. Lots of that in there. Second one. Beautiful. And finally, some cheese. So I'm going to use some Parmesan cheese. Usually they say don't add cheese with seafood, but this is the exception to the rule. This cheese is going to give it some savouriness and also bring that whole sauce together. Give that a stir. And finally, some more parsley. So we'll grab our parsley. Those leaves we're going to scrunch together. We want a nice, generous handful of that. That should do it. In it goes. One last stir. And then into the centre of a bowl. Look at that. See how that sauce has come together? It's just shiny. It's not dripping in the sauce. Pile up the sardines on the top. And there you have it. A dish that takes 8 minutes to make. If you've got pasta, olive oil, lemon, and of course the key ingredient here, sardines, you can make this dish. It's inexpensive, yet absolutely gorgeous. The The secret to the perfect honey chicken is a really good batter surrounding the chicken pieces and a perfectly balanced sauce. Yes, you've probably tried it at your local Chinese takeaway store, but boy, it tastes so much better when you make it at home. So 2 elements to this dish. For the batter, 2 eggs into a bowl, and I'm going to whisk this with some soy sauce. Now use a good quality soy sauce. This is going to season the chicken, and also the egg and the soy sauce combination is going to tenderize the chicken. I'm going to whisk that and really whisk it well so everything's combined. No salt required because the soy sauce is salty enough. And now for the chicken. My choice of chicken is chicken breast because it cooks so fast. 2 chicken breasts for this recipe. Place them on a separate chopping board. And then I'm going to cut it into the classic shape, which is just big cubes. So we'll cut this into 4 strips. And the chicken breast is great for this because it is so lean. And then we'll turn it around and then cut them, making sure that they are quite even so they cook evenly. And the next. Now I'm going to place this into our egg and soy mixture, and then with your hands, give that a good mix and coat it. All right, that's looking good. We'll just allow that to sit there for a moment while we get onto our sauce. A lot of the ingredients that I'm adding is already in your pantry. So just 1/4 cup of water, along with 1/4 cup of honey. And a good little trick to get your honey out much easier is just to warm it up slightly in the microwave. Now for some extra sweetness, a little bit of ketchup or tomato sauce and some 5 spice, star anise, cinnamon and clove, and I'll add a little bit of sesame oil now and I'll add the rest later so we really taste that sesame. Now for some lemon, it is a key ingredient. I'm adding some of the zest and then lots of the juice, so the juice of 1 lemon. And I'm just going to squeeze that straight into our pot, just catching any seeds so we don't have to pick them out later. And the second half. Now this is quite thin, so once we put it on the heat and allow it to start bubbling away, it will thicken up. So this is going to take about 10 minutes. Keep an eye on it and you'll see it transform and it'll start to go glossy. Now for our chicken. This mixture of egg, soy and corn flour is very traditional in Chinese cooking, and it really does give a great batter to the chicken. So incorporate that, folding it in, and keep mixing until there's no little lumps of corn flour in the batter, because you don't want a little pocket of dried flour after we've cooked it. And it does seem like there's quite a lot of batter on this, but no problems at all, because when I start to add it to the oil, I'm just going to drain it off a little. That's looking good. I've been preheating some vegetable oil in my wok. You want the oil to be at about 180 degrees. Being always very careful when using oil. Drain off the chicken and don't throw it in because that's very dangerous, but very gently get as close as you can to the oil and then drop it in. And these are the bubbles we're looking for. It's not overly bubbling, just gentle bubbles. Now don't put all the chicken in at once. We're going to do this in batches. I'd say for this amount, 2 or 3 batches. And then once it's golden brown, I'm going to remove it and place it on a rack to drain. Much this sauce has reduced. It's glistening, it's glossy, it's thick, which is fantastic because you do want it to coat the pieces of chicken. And this is just warm. I don't want it to be piping hot. And that goes for the chicken as well. The chicken has been resting for about 2 to 3 minutes, so it's cooled down a little bit. And now it's time to toss it all together. So grab the chicken. And I drain it on a rack like this just so it doesn't go too soft on the base, so the air is circulating around each individual piece of chicken. And now for the sesame seeds, a good handful in the chicken and a small amount of that sesame oil, 3 or 4 little dribbles, and we can mix it all together. And now it's really starting to resemble that honey soy chicken that we used to get from the local Chinese store. Always tastes better at home. A little bit of rice to serve it with, a good amount on top. And a few more pieces. And if you like, not necessary because there are a lot of sesame seeds, but for some extra crunch and to make it look extra special, a few more sesame seeds on the top. Now you can serve this with some Asian greens or even better, a little crunchy slaw with cabbage and a few herbs through it. This is what I like to call little nuggets of glossy goodness I can't resist. 10 out of 10. If you haven't tried kimchi before, I would highly recommend it. And you can get it from most Asian grocers. Kimchi is a fermented Korean cabbage. Now, it does have a little bit of an odor to it, but I tell you what, it's a great condiment to have in the fridge. It lasts forever, it's so good for you, and it's a great addition to many types of dishes. Just like this dish that I'm going to do. This is a little bit of leftover brown rice from my dinner last night, and I'm going to use it to make a delicious fried rice. Kimchi gives a really wonderful garlicky chili flavour, and you can see how much chili's in it. Now, the first time you try kimchi, it does have a very distinct flavour, but after a few times, I promise you, you'll be addicted to it, just like I am. Now, let's get mise en place done, meaning getting everything prepared just like any other stir fry, because stir fry is all about fast cooking. This is a beautiful piece of ginger. You can see how soft and young it is, so I'm going to add quite a lot of ginger to this. So piling them up together and then finally slicing them. Now, if you've got an older ginger, meaning that the skin's really tough on the outside, by all means you can mince it. But because this is quite young, it's not as peppery and spicy. It's actually got quite a floral flavour. Now for some spring onions, half a bunch of spring onions, and I'm going to use it in two different ways. First, the white and the light green part, just cut them into rounds. They don't have to be too fine because they will wilt down in the hot pan. And then the dark green part is fantastic, but we need to finely chop it, and I'll do that later. That'll be a garnish. Now for the kimchi, I'm going to place it onto my chopping board, and you can see there's that lovely juice in there that we'll use too. Kimchi is so healthy for you. It's fermented, so it's great for gut health. And it's a great thing to also add to salad. So if you've got a little salad, to make it a little bit more interesting, you can add it. I want this to be quite fine because I want it to coat all of the rice. So running through until it's almost minced. And now for the sauce, only 2 ingredients for my sauce, but 2 contrasting flavours. So we've got salty, so the soy sauce, and some honey, perfect for a simple stir fry. I like to use the light soy sauce. It still is salty, but it's not as strong as other varieties, so we can add a little bit more to our sauce. And now, just with a fork, we'll whisk that up and combine it. So, sauce is done. The base of our fried rice is done with the kimchi and the ginger. And now for a little bit of chicken, just to bulk it out. And I'm using chicken breast for a stir fry like this because it cooks really quickly. 1 chicken breast is plenty for 2 people. So I'm going to cut it through the centre. You can see it's so lean, so it does cook very quickly. And then I'm just going to finely slice it. If you wanted to keep this 100% vegetarian, very easy, just supplement the chicken with some mushrooms. You can use a variety of Asian mushrooms. That would be fantastic for this too. All right, chicken's done. Let's put the wok on the heat. You want this to be really, really hot. A little bit of vegetable oil in the base of the pan. Swirl that around. And now I'll add our ginger, then our spring onions, and we'll fry off our kimchi at this stage too. Now we'll give that a toss. And already, just by adding that kimchi, you can smell the chili and the cabbage. It smells delicious. You know that this is going to be a great little stir fry. Now, once we get a little bit of heat into this, the ginger wilts down a little bit, we can add our chicken. So the chicken breast pops straight in there. And just make sure that when you're stir frying, the pan's really, really hot because you don't want it to stew. We want it just to caramelise really quickly. Again, giving it a really good toss. And I'm going to cook that for about 1 minute till it's completely changed colour, goes white. Then it's time to add our rice. Now, I'm using brown rice. I love the nuttiness of it. And like I said before, it's a little bit of leftover rice. When it dries up a little bit in the fridge, you can see how separate the grains are. And that makes a more delicious rice because all of that flavour is going to coat the rice. If you use rice that's been cooked straight away, it's still a little bit glutinous, so it's not going to have the same effect. Okay, let's just have a quick check of this chicken. You can see it's firmed up, changed colour. Because I cut it so thin, it cooks in moments. And we'll toss in our rice. And you can see it's not much rice at all, about 250 grams. It's going to feed at least 2 people. You can see that there's still a little bit of sauce in the kimchi here. I want to use that. So just add some of those juices. And now you'll see the rice starting to fry. It'll start to caramelise. And I love how it's all coating that. Oh, it smells so good. Now, once you start to hear that sizzle and it starts to get a little bit crunchy on the base, then it's time to add our sauce. Soy sauce and honey, and then again, tossing that, making sure that everything is coated. All right, while that's finishing off, we'll just finely chop these spring onions. And because it's a garnish, I don't want it to be too powerful in flavour, so finely chopping the spring onions is what we're looking for. Now I'll get my bowl ready, and then you can start plating this up into the centre. Turn the heat off, and then a little garnish of our spring onions over the top. The simplest fried rice you'll ever make using that fantastic combination of kimchi, soy sauce and honey. Go all out if you like, depending on what you've got in the fridge. You can add prawns to it, many different vegetables. As long as you remember the basics, kimchi, honey, soy sauce, you're onto a winner with this stir fry.